Good afternoon and welcome to this overview of Windchill PDMLink 9.1. In the next few minutes I'm hoping to give you an overview of how to find content inside Windchill, how to work with that content inside ProENGINEER, and then finally how to release that content into the wider community. So first, starting with navigation. So the first thing you'll note with navigating around Windchill is it's a web-enabled platform. This enables us to either work inside a standard web browser or inside the web browser which was introduced inside ProENGINEER Wildfire, enabling us to work in a truly integrated way. So the first thing we need to do is log in. So once logged in, we're taken to the folders view of my rich design information. Now we'll notice that everything inside this view is a hyperlink, whether this be each individual folder or indeed the actions across the top of the screen. Now browsing through Windchill is very easy. All we actually need to do is simply pick on the hyperlink and that takes us directly into that folder. In this case the showerhead folder, and then navigating into said folders therein. Now what is actually displayed inside these folders can be ultimately configurable, whether this be through changing individual fields or indeed configuring those fields to be specific attributes which the customer has. Now we can either browse around textually or indeed we can browse around graphically, and the beauty of browsing around graphically is not only can we understand what the things look like, we can dynamically spin, pan, zoom and rotate the objects, and we can also understand impact analysis, so for example where used. So here going all the way to the top of the tree, and then indeed we can then start to drill down and find individual components from the top level assembly. So if I want to find out some more detailed information on the showerhead, all I need to do is pick on the information icon. Now the information icon takes us directly to the details page of the object, whereby I can start to see the versions, the life cycle states, who did what and when they did it. I also get to see the 3D thumbnail, enabling me to really see what the object looks like. Now within this page we can start to run additional reports. So for example a structure report, giving me a top level bill of materials of this top level assembly. We can run additional reports from here, such as attachments, where used, or indeed find out about its history, so things like iteration or maturity histories. So again, find out who changed what, when they changed it, and potentially which process it went through when it made that change. Now I can also get to see information which is absolutely just pertinent to me on my home overview page. And my home overview page gives me details from a top level view of, for example, assignments, updates and checked out work. So now we've seen how easy it is to work with Windchill integrated inside ProENGINEER. Maybe it's time for us to start to actually work with some content and actually do some real-time design changes. So working with ProENGINEER content inside Windchill enables us to completely control everything we create. And it's also very flexible. There are many ways in which I can open different types of content inside ProENGINEER. So I can use my standard file open dialog boxes and simply browse around Windchill, here navigating through products and then into folders and subfolders as required. And then when I could see the actual content, I can view this in many different ways. Whether I want to view thumbnails, or indeed additional attributes which are stored and controlled inside Windchill, whether this be by part number, name, file name, etc. etc. Now not only do I have the ability to browse through standard dialog boxes, because ProENGINEER is integrated to the web and PDMLink is on the web, I can use the web browser to do this as well. Again, just navigating around by picking on those folders and browsing the content, and then simply clicking on the Open in ProENGINEER button. Now moreover than that, I could also use the Home Overview page by very quickly getting to information which I've worked on before. So here I'm working on the end cap, and all I need to do is simply pick on the Open dialog and that will open up the object into ProENGINEER itself. So working in ProENGINEER, we can start to see the associativity between ProE and Windchill through things like revisions, versions, lifecycle states and the status of those objects. Now today I'm having to modify this assembly by adding a washer. So simply by picking on a view, we can then start to see where that washer is indeed missing. Now there are many ways in which I can assemble this washer. However, if I start to assemble a component into this washer, we'll be changing it. Now when I change it, ProENGINEER prompts me to check this object out. So it's taken control of what I do. So when I check an assembly out, it is really stopping anybody else making any changes to that. They can still use it, they can still view it, but the key thing is they can't change it. So once that's now checked out, I can simply browse around Windchill to get that piece of content, in this case a washer. So whether that be through my workspace or through the files and folders which you saw before, it really doesn't matter. Now alternatively, rather than just browsing, I could also use the integrated search inside ProENGINEER. Now this is a new capability which you only see when working with Windchill. And the ability to search inside Windchill really puts a whole host of content at my fingertips. So where am I searching and what am I searching on? So I could search, for example, by a keyword of a number or with some textual content, and then I just search my database. What we then see is on the left hand side we get a shortlist whereby we could very quickly pull this content into ProENGINEER. But if I'm interested in more detailed information, I've got additional content shown on the right, whereby we can order through different columns, or indeed if I'm interested in additional content around individual objects, I can go straight to that details page. And then within that details page, all I need to do to assemble the components is simply drag and drop it. Now this assembly is checked out to me, so I have the opportunity to change it. Nobody else would have this opportunity. And now it's just a question of saving that away to my workspace. Now when I'm working with workspaces, we can see all the information which is required by ProENGINEER, but we can also see information which is pertinent to me through featured objects. So featured objects show me only information which is either modified or checked out by me. So here we see the part, we can see that it's checked out by me, and indeed it's locally modified. So I now, just like the older days, have the opportunity to select it and check it in. Alternatively, I could do all of this through ProENGINEER itself, through the file check-in dialog, but I can also do things like revise, check out, etc. etc. So simply asking this to check the assembly in. The first thing it does is saves it, and then in the background ProENGINEER checks this object into the appropriate product container. So now the object's been checked in, what I'd like to do is actually get the object released. Now again, inside Windchill, that's a really easy thing to do. I simply go to my home overview page, and in here I can see the content which I've recently been working on, i.e. the end cap. We'll also see that this object is currently at the in work state, and we want to push that up to released. And the way we do that is just by taking it through a promotion task. So when we hit on the promotion task, we see a wizard enabling us to enter all the required information for the process. In this case, I've added a washer. I then pick on the next, and then I can specify which objects and collect objects together are going to actually be promoted. In this case, I wish to collect not just the end cap assembly, but also the drawing of it as well. We also have the opportunity here to add requirements or any other associated documentation. I can then specify the absolute objects which are going to be promoted, i.e. the assembly and the drawing, and then the promotion state which they're going to, in this case, released. Then the process which they're going through to get to that state. In this case I have a number of different workflows which I could select, and then I get to see the participants based upon that workflow and the roles those participants have inside that workflow. Many of these are predefined and already filled in, i.e. mandatory fields. I can then finish that process off, and this object will then be passed along a workflow. Activities will happen on it. Now we'll notice that if we then have a look at this object, it's not gone to the released phase. It's actually gone to under review, because I need somebody to sign this object off prior to the object actually becoming released.